star fallen from heaven to earth, and he was given the key to the shaft of the bottomless pit. He opened the shaft of the bottomless pit, and from the shaft rose smoke, like the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened with the smoke from the shaft. Then from the smoke came locusts on the earth, and they were given power, like the power of scorpions of the earth. They were told not to harm the grass of the earth or any green plant or any tree, but only those people who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. They were allowed to torment them for 5 months, but not to kill them. And their torment was like the torment of a scorpion when it stings someone. And in those days people will seek death and will not find it. They will long to die, but death will flee from them. They have as king over them the angel of the bottomless pit. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek he is called Apollyon. The first woe has passed. Behold, 2 woes are still to come. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions. And also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit. 1.21 gigawatts. Please, God. All right, Mrs. Scott, energize.
Yes, so the story of LHC world records started in 2009 when we brought our first beams to an energy of 1.3 TeV, which was higher than the previous record from Teratron, which was 1 TeV. Then 1 year later, we pushed to 3.5 TeV. This was 2010. Two years later, in 2012, we reached 4 TeV, which was the highest we reached during the first operating period of the LHC. This was then interrupted by a first long shutdown where we consolidated some parts of the magnets. This allowed us in 2015 to reach 6.5 TeV, again a new world record. We operated there for 3 years until we reached our second long shutdown, where we did a further consolidation of the safety system of the magnet, which allowed us today to actually make the next step of 6.8 TeV, bringing us very close to the design energy of the LHC, which is 7 TeV. Now, this is, of course, an important day for us because the beams reached this new energy for the first time. But it's only the start of a very long commissioning period, which will bring us to actually collide the two beams for the experiments and provide the highest energy collisions, which should happen about 6 to 8 weeks from now.
Welcome to CERN, the European Laboratory for Particle Physics. Today, almost 17,000 researchers and engineers come to CERN to investigate the universe, how it works, what it is made of, using some of the largest and most complex pieces of equipment in the world. In the Large Hadron Collider, we smash particles together at just below the speed of light. By doing this, the physics community has produced some fundamental discoveries. In 2012, we identified the Higgs boson, which is the manifestation of a field that gives mass to all other fundamental particles in the universe. This type of research results in huge IT and computing challenges. Things happen very fast around here. In the Large Hadron Collider, particles collide at approximately 1 billion times per second. Our data analysis needs are so great that we need to distribute the LHC data around the world to over 170 data centers and laboratories that collaborate with us. The continuous program of upgrades and consolidations to the Large Hadron Colliders and the experiments at CERN will result in the coming years to greatly increase the ICT and computing demands. This is why we keep looking at next-generation technologies like quantum computing, and why we have joined the IBM Quantum Network.
Using quantum machine learning algorithms, we're exploring how to pinpoint these complex events in a way that is much more efficient than even our fastest supercomputers, which is exciting for us because we design and build quantum computers to tackle precisely this kind of seemingly impossible challenge.
At the heart of our quantum computers are what we call qubits, the basic unit of quantum information. Unlike the bits within a classical computer that can just manipulate ones or zeros, qubits can hold much richer information. We can exploit these to calculate the boundaries around interesting events more efficiently using many more dimensions that can be visualized or handled by a classical computer. Qubits are made by trapping and controlling tiny bits of the universe. In our case, pairs of electrons. So in a way, we're using tiny parts of the universe that we do understand to help us find the other tiny parts of the universe that we don't understand.
Quantum computing may play a very significant role in helping us expand our knowledge beyond the standard model of physics. This means investigating the many open questions related to dark matter, dark energy, the relationships between gravity and quantum mechanics, and more.
You harness a wormhole, speed up one end and slow down the other.
Go on.
I can't.
Mr. Darnell, you realize...
Please, I can't. Let's leave it at this.
How does it work? How does it work?
You have to understand, if I answer that question, it could rip a hole through everything as we know it.
But that's why you're here, isn't it? To change the past, so you're going to have to give me something.
Dr. Pine, I was under the impression it was never a good idea to force a patient to divulge anything they weren't comfortable with.
I can't keep doing this.
All right. I know this must be frustrating. I can't give you everything. It just wouldn't be safe.
I'm listening.
You say you like science.
I do.
To go back and read the concepts presented by Hawking, Einstein, Lewis, light speed, black holes, wormholes. They were so close. There was just one small piece missing. I'm sure you're aware or somewhat familiar with the concept of wormholes.
Sure, yeah, they're fascinating to wonder about.
If you don't mind, could you tell me what you know?
They're a consequence of Einstein's theory of general relativity. A wormhole, in theory, would act as a shortcut or a passageway through space and time.
The physics are even simpler than your definition. A wormhole creates a tunnel, effectively cutting through two locations in space-time.
Yeah, therefore eliminating the need for three-dimensional travel through space. No more rocket ships. I like Stargate too.
Oh, wow, Stargate. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie. Who was that guy? He was really good in that old Western.
Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell, he was good.
Listen, nothing you're telling me is new information, right? The theories about wormholes have existed for a long time, but nobody knows if they actually exist or how to find them.
But I do. They're everywhere. Just a matter of seeing them or harnessing them.
But you haven't explained either. How do you see them? How do you harness them? A machine, some sort of gateway?
Of course you need a machine to sustain a wormhole. But this is where I stop. I have given you the gun. Let me keep the bullets.
Please continue.
I found a way to go back. I was alone, but I found it. My old partner was the only one that knew, but for now, it'll stay that way. The only question is, can the ripples I create be enough to change the future? Or create an alternate one?
Ripples?
Think of the water in that glass as time. Time moves forward constantly, untouched, as still as the water. Go back and try to change something, and it creates a ripple effect. Change has to catch up with time. And everything around it either changes or suffers.
If you've ever been exposed to soap operas, the music in the soundtrack should evoke memories of a long-running show.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. That's the kind of subtlety being leveraged by the filmmaker. Darnell, the time traveler and inventor of time travel who destroyed the future, says, think of the water in that glass as time. Time moves forward constantly. Untouched, it's as still as the water. Go back and try to change something, bang, and it creates a ripple effect. Read between the lines. The particle collision pictured creates a ripple effect in time, a time impact event. Who is trying to go back or forward to try to change an outcome? Darnell is. That's why he's there meeting with Dr. Pyatt and speaking so persuasively. Darnell himself is playing the role of the destroyer of worlds, the dancing Lord Shiva. Under the lamp, we see an idol of Shiva doing the cosmic dance of destruction, a miniature of the one featured at the CERN facility. There's a horned mask on the wall that represents the horned god Cernunnos, the god of the abyss, who is continually being invoked in ceremonies where magic circles are cast with salt, just like in the Symmetry film. Yes, Cernunnos, Cernunnos. Also, Nodens, Abaddon, Apollyon the Destroyer. It's a clever set. The table lamp paints light on the wall in the shape of an hourglass, hinting of a measure of the sands of time. Under the lamp, you'll find a pitcher of water, a reservoir as drawn from the river of time. Mr. Darnell's pocket watch rests on the coffee table with his time water glass, with the hinged case being a model of folded time-space. The box of tissues on the table is a cube. Think of the cube in the Marvel comic universe, which has to do with a multi-dimensional binding and the control of vast time-space energies. Again, what kind of machine are they talking about in the clip? Did you see the picture on the wall that artfully illustrates the particle collisions? Darnell mentioned small pieces, like subatomic particles. He mentioned a gun and bullets.
Direct what we would call the New Atlantis, the occult agenda of the New Atlantis, to bring in the Antichrist system. So we have J.K. Rowling releasing this movie in November 18, 2016. It definitely parallels with what we've been discussing with CERN. She's just really doing another revelation of topics such as Pandora's Box, also the Goosebumps series, where things come out of the books. This is going to be things coming out of CERN, the parallel universe. What do you think about all this, Chris? interesting pieces, the Pope Benedict, coming from the Nazi background, and also he was the head of the Office of Inquisition that had a different name. But he was one of the members of the Rhine Group, which was the liberal German faction, is what they call it, that was putting down the traditions of the Catholic Church masses that had stood since 600 AD. So in 1960s, when the Vatican II happened and Pope Benedict was involved in this, he's instrumental in changing the Catholic masses and the liturgy and all this stuff, an attack on tradition. This is typical of the Illuminati methodology of taking down nation states and religion and things like that. So he was there, and this November 20th is the 50th anniversary of the ending of that. And this Pope was there when Pope Francis opened the doors and hugged him. And what ritual did we witness with that?
Pope Francis was wearing the Dagon hat, which is the god of Saturn. He hugged the other Pope, which is, I do believe we have two popes running things right now, the one that wears the gold, the one that wears the silver. Pope Francis signifies the moon, and Pope Benedict signifies the sun as he wears the gold, because this is a sun and moon ritual bringing them together for peace. There must be destruction before there is peace, and the Lord of Jubilees represents this rising of the phoenix. They actually started the Jubilee as a conception of when the Christ was put into the womb.
He's when the Vatican II happened and Pope Benedict was involved in this. He's instrumental in changing the Catholic masses and the liturgy and all this stuff, an attack on tradition. This is typical of the Illuminati methodology of taking down nation states and religion and things like that. So he was there, and this November 20th is the 50th anniversary of the ending of that. And this Pope was there when Pope Francis opened the doors and hugged him. And what ritual did we witness with that?
Pope Francis was wearing the Dagon hat, which is the god of Saturn. He hugged the other Pope, which is, I do believe we have two popes running things right now, the one that wears the gold, the one that wears the silver. Pope Francis signifies the moon, and Pope Benedict signifies the sun as he wears the gold, because this is a sun and moon ritual bringing them together for peace. There must be destruction before there is peace, and the Lord of Jubilees represents this rising of the phoenix. They actually started the Jubilee as a conception of when the Christ was put into the womb. When we know that their Christ is not our Christ. It is just symbolic to them of when they are wanting their Antichrist to be birthed. The phoenix is associated with the Hindu god Vishnu. We know that Vishnu is also Jupiter, and he's connected to Imhotep, which is the mother of Ham's wife. Ham was the first that did the stretching of the cord ceremony, which is the Jubilees. And we know that the Jubilees has to do with the rising of the star Sirius.
Yeah, and I think Canaan was the one that was cursed, who was the son of Ham, right?
Right. The Ben stone is actually named after the mound that was a sacred stone. This is in the Temple of Ra, which is Saturn in Heliopolis. Was the location the first rays of the sun fell, according to the Egyptians. It is the prototype for later obelisks and capstones of the Great Pyramid. So all of the obelisks we see, like in Washington, in the Vatican, all the obelisks that we see around the world, in Berkeley, California, these obelisks represent the Ben stone. It represents the stone in which the Bennu bird was standing on to bring the rays of the sun on the capstone of the pyramid to birth the Ogdode. From Orion is where the gate opens, and CERN wants to open a gate. CERN is a musical instrument. It has glass plates with words on them with beams going through them.
Yeah, when you think about it, it's like having a sheet of notes up there and shining light through it. It's quite a complicated frequency and form type of old magic being conducted by CERN. I remember that Malachi Martin, the Jesuit priest, he discussed about the enthronement of Lucifer in the Vatican around the time of the end of the Vatican II Council. It was in the late 60s, and Vatican II, I believe, was around 65. And here we are having the culmination of this 50-year ritual being performed with CERN as the musical instrument, basically bringing this Apollo character or Nimrod character back.
Right, because it actually is a resurrected ritual, tricking people into thinking that they are represented in Jesus Christ with the Virgin Mary, when in all actuality, they are doing a ritual because Jesus doesn't need to rise again. He rose, and the Bible says that. He doesn't need to rise again. Their God of the dead, which they worship gods of the dead, and we've proved this through our videos with the skull worship, with the double-headed eagle that Albert Pike wears also. He's a Freemason. It's called the 33rd degree of order out of chaos. And this has to do with the destruction and rebirth of Shiva, the destruction and rebirth of the Bennu, which is the Lord of Jubilees, which is the ritual that they started in December, which ends in November. It is the rebirth. It's the ashes and the rebirth of Osiris, which he is Horus as the resurrected Osiris. That's the black star. That's the star that David Bowie was singing about. And so we have all this ritual stuff going on. And not only that, we have Lady Gaga in her video.
Minions and disguised rituals of the pseudo-Christian, the fake Christian churches enacting these rituals in front of everybody as Christian rituals of some sort, but they're actually Roman pagan rituals that are designed to bring in the establishment of the Antichrist and the beast system that we've been talking about. And we're going to continue to follow this topic, of course. It just seems that we get so much on our plate every day that we could just continue to add video after video on these topics as new, crazier things are revealed in these end times. We'll stay on top of this, and we'll keep bringing out these things as long as we're able to, right, Chris?
Right. I just wanted to say, too, that in reference to the Bennu and the Ben stone, Enlil was the god of Nippur, and his throne was the ziggurat. And what they would do, the people would have to speak all one language in order for him to come down for his power. That is what CERN is doing. It has all the languages on glass plates, calling this Bennu, this Lord of Jubilees. This is why the Pope did this Jubilee ritual in order for the phoenix to rise, and this is why war is coming.